Hey everyone, my name is Justin. I am with Sebastian County Search and Rescue here in Sebastian County, Arkansas. It is now October, and with October comes our fall hunting seasons. And with fall, we also inevitably get cooler weather. And that cooler weather tends to bring people out to hike and to backpack and to camp. And with that influx of people into the backcountry, we also tend to see a spike in lost persons cases, lost hikers, lost hunters. And what I'd like to talk to you about today is what you should do if you ever get lost. And the number one thing, the first and foremost, number one thing you should do if you ever get lost is stop where you are. Now you need to do that with regard to your personal safety. If you're in a low-lying area and you hear thunder in the distance, and you see the dark clouds on the horizon, then you should probably move to higher ground. And secondarily, you might move with regard to your visibility. If you can see a clearing in the woods nearby, you might relocate a couple of 100 yards to get into that clearing to be more visible to search crews. But you need to stop generally where you are when you realize you're lost. And the reason for that, so you understand why I say this, the reason for that is we have to work off of a last known position as search and rescue crews. Now, that may be your car at a trailhead. It may be a trip plan you left behind with a friend or a relative, which we'll discuss a little bit more in a minute. But we have to work off of what your last known position was, if we're lucky enough to have a really concrete last known position. But we can't be sure what direction you traveled in. You may have changed your mind at the last minute. You may have gone this way instead of that. So when we draw up a search area off of a last known position, we have to draw a giant circle. Get the old compass out, like grade school, and draw a giant circle. So when you move, say, 1 mile further, you're not just going 1 mile further on 1 degree of the compass in our eyes. It's for 360 degrees. So that search area expands exponentially, and the further out you are, the more the search area grows with each mile that you cover. And the further you travel, the less likely you are to be detected in a reasonable amount of time. So we just want you to stay where you are once you realize you're lost. You shrink the search area, and it makes it easier for us and our finite number of resources to locate you. That's the number one thing right there, is just stay put. But there are some other things you can do. And I would like to think that all of you go out a little bit prepared. If you're hunters, if you're hikers, that you have some knowledge of the backcountry. But there are a few things you can do that we could call preventative, no, let's call it preemptive preparations for the eventuality that you might get lost. And one of the very first things you should do is leave a trip plan, like I just mentioned a while ago, with somebody close to you. And that trip plan should at the very minimum include the area you're going to be, as specific as you can be, what you intend to do while you're there, and also what time exactly you expect to be back by. That way we can be activated far sooner. It can be realized that you were lost far sooner, and search and rescue teams and authorities can be alerted far sooner to you being missing. And every minute counts. When someone is lost, every minute counts. So if you leave behind a trip plan, you greatly increase your odds of being found in a timely manner. In addition to that, there are a few things you can take into the backcountry with you that are lightweight, inexpensive, and will greatly aid in your survival and also possibly your rescue. And I want to go over them real quick. One of them just being a survival whistle. These cost around $5. They're very loud, and the sound carries much further than your voice will. It's very small and light. Secondarily, a signal mirror. You may think that sounds a little bit romantic, but people have been found by using signal mirrors. And again, simply the size and the weight. It's smaller than a debit card, weighs less than an ounce. It takes up no bulk in your pack, and I think they cost around $5. That's something you should have with you. Next, you should consider your protection from the elements, because the elements are what will kill you faster than anything in the wilderness, especially hypothermia or heat exhaustion. Right now, we're looking more at hypothermic type situations because we're rolling into winter. Any kind of a little survival shelter. This happens to be a little survival bivvy. It's like a glorified space blanket. Reflects most of your body heat back to you. It's like a mummy bag. You crawl into it. And it costs around $15. Or you can get an actual windscreen type of a shelter or a teepee kind of a shelter. You can do most of those things for around $20. They're bright orange, they're highly reflective, and you can see how small it is. And that will help protect you from the elements, but also can aid you in signaling search crews because they're highly reflective, they're bright orange. Next, you need to consider water, because dehydration will also kill you relatively quickly, depending on the environment. But dehydration is a major factor in your being rescued in good condition. And to that end, you can get like a Life Straw or a quality competitor. I'm sure they have some great competitors out there, but just do your research and get a good tool. These filter down to like 0.02 microns, I think, and they'll take out everything but waterborne viruses, which just so happen to be really rare in North America. So if you have a water source, you have water. Life Straws are super light. It's a little bit bulkier, but it's still easily fit in the bottom of your pack somewhere. And finally, a way to make fire, which everyone should have some way to do. And remember the old adage, you know, 2 is 1, 1 is none. You should start with a Bic lighter and have one of these, because that's the quickest, easiest way. It's instant fire. But in the event that this little mechanical apparatus here does not function properly, you need to have some way to back that up, whether it be a striker or some waterproof, windproof matches like these, which are also really, really inexpensive. You need a way to make a fire. And that is because, especially in winter, you can become hypothermic very quickly, especially if you're wet. So you need a way to dry clothes if you were to get, say, fall in the creek or it were to rain on you. It's also a great morale boost at night and helps you feel safer, and morale plays a large role in your survival when you're lost. And it's also a great signaling tool. During the day, it can produce a lot of smoke if you put green branches off of trees on there, and at night, they put drier wood on there, it burns brighter. And it's a point of light that searchers can locate. So right there, a small handful of things, all inexpensive, all lightweight, and all take up relatively little bulk, fit right down into the bottom of your pack. And these things will help you to effect your own rescue, keep you safe and comfortable, and possibly, in a worst case scenario, save your life. And finally, we should talk about preventative maintenance. The best thing to do when it comes to being lost is to not get lost to start with. It seems like an obvious statement, but many people go out, and I myself have been guilty of this in my life, without being adequately knowledgeable of the area I'm going into or having adequate tools to navigate the area I'm going into. In this day and age, with the internet, it's too easy. You can print a map in no time at all, a topographic map no less, and have that as you go into your area. Know your area before you go in. Have a general idea. Are there any major roads within X amount of miles? Are there any settled areas within X amount of miles? Have a general idea what you're getting into, where you're going. Always have a compass. And also, even on cell phones now, there's some great apps. I have an app that I paid for a few years ago, but now it's a free download called View Ranger, and you can download offline topographic tiles. That way, when you're out, the location services on your phone, the GPS tracker is still pinging, and you can use that app offline without cell service and have a topographic map with your current location, real-time location on it. If you go in prepared like that, the odds of getting lost to start with are far, far less. So to recap, when it comes to being lost, try to prepare yourself before you go in. Always leave a trip plan with someone, where you're going, when you expect to be back. At the very minimum, try to go in with a few tools that will help you in the case you do get lost, and try not to get lost at all. Go in with the proper tools and the proper knowledge, and just be prepared when you go out. We're not trying to scare anybody. We just want everybody to get home every time that you go into the backcountry. And again, this has been Justin with Sebastian County Search and Rescue. We just want everyone to stay safe out there.